What's up, guys and gals? Iceman here. Welcome to Haunting Tales from the Iceman. So, I came across this very unusual and concerning story that involved a young woman. Now, I don't want to give her real name. Let's just call her Jessica, all right? So Jessica lived in the state of Oklahoma, and she was pretty active in high school. She got into cheerleading, and she did gymnastics. She was one of those sort of like athletic girls, and quite popular, but to my understanding, she was decent. She wasn't all stuck up, and she didn't mind talking to the guys who, she wasn't interested in. So there was this one guy by the name of Brian, and he was one of those freaks in a way. He just wasn't all that popular in school. He was into the arts and theater. He had this weird sort of skull structure about him. His face was oddly shaped, and he had very round edges, so it was almost kind of feminine. He was tall, lanky, with brown, curly hair, right? And the worst part, to my understanding, was just the fact that he was socially awkward. So he was kind of tall, he had an okay voice, but the guy was socially awkward. And he spoke with Jessica a few times through high school, only a few times. So he didn't get the impression that she was into him. So nonetheless, about a year after graduation, strangely enough, this guy thought it was a good idea to pursue Jessica. And he didn't go about it by just trying to contact her through email or Facebook or telephone or meet her somewhere in public. He went as far as to walk up to her door. Now, this is when she lived with her parents. She was about 20 years old, I think, when this happened. A year or two after high school. So Brian comes knocking on the door and just showed her that he had something for her, like verbally. He indicated to her that he was obsessed, and was for some time. But of course, Jessica, politely so, rejected his proposal to hang out, get to know her more, go out for coffee, and turned him away. And she was kind of startled by that, just how a guy would, from years ago, would look up her address and go to her home, approach her, and hope to have greater interactions with her. But nonetheless, she turned him away. But here's where it gets really weird. So this guy, Brian, he started showing up to that house frequently. But he would go there at night, and he wouldn't ring the doorbell or knock on the door. He wouldn't ask for Jessica. He just went there. And they had this little camera outside of the door that would record whatever was going on. Just one of those, what are they called? I can't remember what they're called. Those cameras that have like a 48-hour recording thing, and you can watch your footage. You could save it on your computer, this and that, for security purposes. Has good audio and all that. Brian took notice to one of those cameras right outside of their door. So he would go up to the camera, and he just started talking in it. And he began sending what seemed to be subliminal messages to Jessica. He would say things along the lines of, "We were meant to be together. Things that can go on between us shouldn't be shown on film or heard. We can have a really good time if it's not being recorded." Just really awkward things like that. Like, what the hell is he talking about? So she began trying to get the guy in trouble, but apparently law enforcement didn't really do much initially because he wasn't knocking at the door. He would just kind of walk up to the camera and then walk away and kind of walk to it again and just say a couple things and walk away and leave. So they couldn't really make a case out of it for whatever reason. But what ended up happening later is probably the most strange thing of it all. He left a Bible on her doorstep with something to do with the verse between Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Is that how you say? That chick that was in the Da Vinci Code, there's like that conspiracy that Jesus had relation with her or whatever. Even though that's not generally accepted amongst Christians, but that's just one like side theory, side take that a movie was made on and everything else, you know. But nonetheless, he had the Bible laid out with that verse circled in red marker, something to do with an interaction between Jesus and Mary. And he had like a pine cone there and some flowers. It was like a small little shrine that he left for Jessica right on her doorstep. So, of course, this was freaking out her parents, and she didn't know what the hell to think of it either. But the most unusual thing of it all is this Brian guy. He saw himself to be Jesus, apparently. Like, he thought he was the reincarnation of Jesus or the second return of Jesus. And he thought that this girl, Jessica, was the embodiment of Mary Magdalene. So in his mind, they were destined to be together. And he believed this. So he believed he was the Son of God and that the future was predicated on and expectant upon him and this girl that he's been stalking to get back together and like be in union with each other, be married and all that. So of course that expectation is just beyond belief, and it puts a ton of pressure on Jessica, and of course it scares the hell out of her. So she ended up taking the guy to court over these matters, and every time in court, like, she had to renew her probation on him over the course of several years. Apparently it expires, so you have to renew it again if you have like a, what do you call that? A restraining order on a person, or a protective order, or whatever they are, where the person can't come within X amount of yards from you. So he would still come to the door when the thing would run out, and then she'd have to go take him to court again and look him in the eye and tell him he's wrong. He scares her. She doesn't want him to come around anymore. And apparently his reaction, even in these court cases, were just like winking at her and blowing kisses at her. And he wasn't sent to jail or anything. It's just that the order was then renewed, and he would abide by the order, to my understanding, to where he wouldn't be sent to jail anyway. So this girl, it was ongoing. And I think it still is going on. She has to live with this. And to me, it's just like, what the hell? I wonder if this guy is going to come to his senses, or what's to come of this. I don't know. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about this case in the comments below. Like this video if you will, subscribe to this page, and I'll see you soon with more haunting tales from the Iceman.